On this July 30, 2011, the police in Salisbury, North Carolina, receive a call reporting the disappearance of Erica Lynn Parsons, a 15-year-old girl who seems to be rather quiet so far. The officers, not used to this type of situation in this town of about 33,000 residents, immediately question, why did no one notice the absence of a young girl for so long? And how can she vanish without a trace? They quickly discover that Erica, born on January 24, 1996, is living under the guardianship of her adoptive parents, Casey and Sandy Parsons. From the first contact with the couple, the authorities feel a certain tension. Both describe an introverted teenager, often quiet, who remains withdrawn during family gatherings and does not maintain strong connections with the school environment. This description intrigues the investigators, who strive to understand the complex family story in which Erica evolves. Erica's official adoption by Casey and Sandy is not surrounded by the same enthusiasm usually observed when parents welcome a child. Some people in the community, though often unaware of the exact details of her background, have the impression that there is an emotional distance within this household. It is said that Erica does not receive the same attention as the other children in the house, as if her presence is more discreet than that of the biological family members. The authorities also learned that before her definitive arrival at the Parsons, Erica already faced several problems, including behavioral difficulties and mental health issues that require special support. It is whispered that her first months of life were marked by instability, which could explain her emotional fragility and tendency to withdraw when observed too closely. In the neighborhood, few neighbors really know what Erica looks like, as she does not go out often. A few teachers at her school notice a discomfort they struggle to name. She keeps to herself, seems tired, and sometimes expresses a quiet concern when questioned about her life at home. Some family acquaintances note that the young girl almost never appears in vacation photos or during large family meals. It is as if she lives in the shadows, without real emotional support. This impression grows when, shortly before her disappearance is officially reported, her behavior becomes even more withdrawn, as if she is trying to escape notice. Social services in the area have intervened in the past to check on Erica's well-being. According to some reports, the relationship she has with Casey and Sandy is marked by tense exchanges, punctuated by misunderstandings and verbal abuse. The tensions do not only affect the teenager. Rare disputes are mentioned in the surroundings, involving several members of the extended family, creating a difficult climate. The teachers, on their side, record some of Erica's repeated absences from school and begin to worry. Yet no one seems to alert the authorities immediately, as if everyone assumes that this already vulnerable teenager either copes with the situation or eventually reappears without too much fuss. When a missing persons report is finally filed, many pieces are missing to reconstruct the precise chronology of events. The adoptive parents claim that Erica left home to visit a relative, without offering verifiable proof. The law enforcement examines the family history and discovers that the young girl hasn't been seen for several weeks, possibly months. This revelation casts new light on the concern about her. Why is her absence only being reported now? The authorities talk with relatives, try to contact the teachers, and gradually realize that the image of a typical family life, with its ups and downs, conceals a much more troubled reality. Some testimonies mention screams and cries heard behind the walls of the Parsons house, while others insist on Erica's introverted nature, who does not dare to express her fears outside. The teenager, for her part, practically leaves nothing behind. No diary, no messages indicating distress or a desire to run away on her own. The environment of Salisbury, a relatively close-knit community, is gradually becoming aware that a tragedy is unfolding before their eyes. about 15 years of life reduced to vague memories, administrative documents, and a few vague descriptions gathered at her school. Officials are questioning whether she is receiving adequate medical care for her mental health issues and are concerned about the unreliability of the information conveyed by the Parsons. Some residents are starting to question the couple's involvement, as they are already suspected of adopting an ambiguous attitude and spend more time justifying themselves than providing useful information to find her. As the days go by, the question becomes more pressing. How can Erica, who attends school and lives in a monitored residential area, disappear in silence? Her teachers, sometimes anxious about having missed a warning sign, try to recall any detail. They remember a girl who spoke little, lost in her thoughts, perhaps in the grip of isolation that drives her to hide her suffering. Family friends admit that when Casey and Sandy talk about Erica, tempers quickly flare, as if the mere mention of her name awakens a source of stress. Authorities consider the possibility that Erica might have tried to escape a presumably toxic environment, but no evidence supports this hypothesis. The leads intertwine and create confusion. Rumors circulate about possible tensions with other members of the adoptive family, shedding new light on the adoption itself. It is learned that Erica was entrusted to Casey and Sandy when she was still a vulnerable child, already marked by a complicated past. It is whispered that her biological mother encountered major difficulties, and the solution considered to protect Erica at the time was adoption. The people of Salisbury, unaware of all these details, sometimes judged the situation hastily, without understanding the complexity of finding a stable home for a child who has already suffered. Now, the entire community finds itself in uncertainty and wonders how to assist investigators. Patrols, phone calls, and searches commence, but nothing leads directly to Erica. Several weeks after the disappearance was reported, perplexity grows. Questions arise over the time elapsed before her disappearance was formalized. The initial clues gathered suggest there are gaps in Casey and Sandy's account. The tensions within the home, Erica's silences, the confusion of those around her, and the hesitant nature of the testimonies foster a climate of distrust. The inhabitants of Salisbury, conservative and unaccustomed to dramatic headlines, begin to feel involved despite themselves. They slowly uncover the complicated story of this teenage girl, born on January 24, 1996, adopted to receive a fresh start, but curiously kept at a distance from the outside world. Everyone now wonders what happened to this young girl whom nearly no one noticed, and why she has literally vanished from daily life. Misunderstanding prevails, while the authorities, under pressure, pursue their searches assiduously and attempt to understand the origins of the tensions in the Parsons family, in the hope of finding Erica safe and sound. In the following days, Casey Parsons provides detectives with a troubling explanation. She claims to have sent Erica to live with a relative, a certain Nan, purportedly the girl's biological grandmother. However, no documents support this story, nor is there any evidence of this mysterious relative's whereabouts. Investigators desperately try to contact this famous Nan, but the identity of this woman remains elusive, and no one in the Parsons circle seems to know her. As the police persist, Casey maintains her story and assures that Erica is safe. The authorities, unconvinced, begin collecting testimonies from neighbors who claim not to have seen the teenager for months before the disappearance was declared. Some even notice a change in the atmosphere of the house, where tensions seem to heighten. Investigators also note that Erica's schooling has not been consistently attended, and her repeated absences from school appear suspicious. This accumulation of facts piques the interest of local media, who begin covering the case and fuel speculations that the reality might be darker than it seems. As the police delve deeper into their investigations, they uncover concerning elements about the family's climate. Past reports indicate that social services had already expressed concern for the welfare of Erica and the other children living with Casey and Sandy. Testimonies report cases of alleged abuse and neglect, although nothing had resulted in firm prosecutions at that time. Investigators then became aware of Erica's extreme vulnerability, who seemed to have grown up in an unstable environment. The team looked into medical records, hoping to find recent documents proving she had seen a doctor or received some treatment, but the available data abruptly stops months before her disappearance was reported. The hypothesis that she never really left the parental home begins to take shape, and suspicions of violence or confinement grow. Authorities also questioned former teachers who noted Erica's excessive shyness and wondered if she was hiding more serious issues than her discreet attitude suggested. Over the course of 2012, the investigation progresses, but no decisive element allows for retracing Erica's whereabouts. Detectives multiply the interrogations and try to gather a solid case to shed light on this disappearance. Meanwhile, Casey and Sandy Parsons provide hardly any more details, always claiming that their adoptive daughter left voluntarily to join this supposed grandmother. The local press continues to report every new development, and the population of Salisbury is divided between those who want to give the parents the benefit of the doubt and those who denounce a leniency or a lie on their part. During this period, psychology experts and social workers begin sharing their concerns about Erica's potential condition if she is still alive. They emphasize that any prolonged break from connection with school and the medical system represents a serious danger for a minor. The absence of news from the teenager eventually alarms the child protection associations, which lend their support to the investigators and issue a call for witnesses. Faced with growing pressure, the authorities are relentless and continue their investigations. They examine the family's bank statements, question distant acquaintances, and scrutinize the places Casey claims to have visited with his daughter. These checks fail to confirm the Parsons version. As this mysterious case deepens, some family acquaintances start speaking out about blatant contradictions between the parents' statements and what they have observed themselves. Detectives cross-reference the information and discover suspicious financial transfers, non-existent justifications, and contradictory testimonies, which reinforce their doubts. Gradually, the hypothesis of a deliberately concealed disappearance emerges. Despite the lack of direct evidence, the police become convinced that Erica was never put in safety, contrary to Casey's assertions. In January 2013, tensions peak when investigators decide to take Casey and Sandy Parsons into custody for false statements. Authorities believe they have deliberately misled the police and altered the course of the investigation. This arrest marks a turning point, as it allows for a spotlight to be placed on the adoptive parents and their responsibility in the teenager's disappearance to be reevaluated. Despite their detention, they continue to claim that their version is the only truth. Meanwhile, the Salisbury community begins to fear the worst regarding Erica's fate, who should logically have reappeared by now if she had indeed left voluntarily. The prospect of a criminal act becomes clearer, and the population demands answers. It is in this tense and emotionally charged climate that the search for Erica continues, as investigators strive to gather enough evidence to explain what really happened. The Parsons' alleged lies complicate the task, but do not discourage law enforcement, determined to solve this mystery and track down this young girl whose whereabouts no one seems to know. As evidence accumulates and the family's obscure motives slowly come to light, everyone understands that the truth about Erica can no longer be separated from the lies surrounding her disappearance. On September 6, 2019, a hunter walking in a wooded area near the house once inhabited by the Parsons family stops short upon spotting bones partially buried under fallen leaves. He immediately contacted the local authorities who intervened on the scene to preserve it and verify whether these were indeed human remains. The initial findings sent a wave of anxiety through the community. For years, there had been suspicions surrounding the tragic disappearance that had been covered by the local media, and many feared this discovery was related to the missing teenager. Investigators meticulously combed the area, collected every bone fragment, and took detailed photos before sending them to the medical examiner. Every piece of information was essential, as the region held its breath awaiting confirmation of the identity of these remains. A few days later, the medical examiner's office announced that scientific analyses confirmed the unthinkable, that these bones belonged to Erica Lynn Parsons, who had been reported missing several years ago and had not been found until now. The announcement triggered deep emotion throughout Rowan County, where the news quickly spread. National media outlets relayed the information, and, immediately, attention turned to Casey and Sandy Parsons, Erica's adoptive parents, who had been under judicial scrutiny since the beginning of this case. Local and federal authorities, mobilized for years, moved swiftly to finalize the investigation. Prosecutors gathered evidence and organized new interrogations aimed at clearly determining the circumstances of Erica's death. Meanwhile, the population of Salisbury, North Carolina, felt a mixture of relief and horror. The uncertainty had ended, but it concluded with a grim outcome. Spontaneous vigils were organized, bringing together neighbors, volunteers, and ordinary citizens shocked by the confirmation that this disappearance had turned into a criminal case. Some carried candles or placed flowers in front of the home where the young girl had lived. Others offered prayers for justice to be served. The media, meanwhile, interviewed former family friends and members of a religious community who had expressed concerns in the past. International journalists began to delve into this case, seeking to understand how a teenager could disappear without immediate alerts being raised, and why the judicial process was taking so long to conclude. As news of the formal identification of Erica spread, the sheriff's office made known its intent to vigorously pursue those responsible for her death. Casey and Sandy found themselves at the center of attention, accused of abuse and neglect toward the child they had taken into their home. The trial began shortly after the forensic analysis, and debates were engaged around evidence accumulated since the investigation's launch. Expert testimony illustrated how the young girl had likely suffered prolonged physical abuse, and how the adults responsible for her safety failed in their duty. Prosecutors emphasized the inconsistencies in Casey and Sandy's statements, who initially claimed to have entrusted Erica to other relatives. On the defendant's bench, the two adoptive parents appeared distant, with their defense attempting to minimize their direct involvement, citing financial difficulties and personal problems to justify a tense family environment. Tension rose in the courtroom as the jury was shown photographs of Erica, smiling and full of hope in the few pictures kept by distant aunts or uncles. Child protection experts intervened to highlight the system's failures in not detecting the danger signs in time. Community leaders reminded everyone that Erica, as a minor and school student, should have been more effectively protected by social services and the educational system. As the investigators' testimony revealed disturbing details about Erica's life before her death, the atmosphere grew heavy for both the community and outside observers. When the verdict was reached, Casey and Sandy were found guilty of abuse and neglect leading to Erica's death. The sentences pronounced reflected the severity of their actions, and the prosecutors emphasized the importance of this ruling as a strong signal. Abuse within households will no longer be tolerated, and Erica's case should serve as an example to enhance vigilance towards vulnerable children. In the weeks that followed, the community mobilized.